Usually when we do tabligh in Arab countries and we mention the name of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, people become very aggressive. But when we speak about the beauty of what he said, they became attractive. So is it hikmah to speak about the beauty of ulum of Masih Maud and say that this is from Mujaddid Zaman, for example, or it's
this is mulahanat. You see, when God's name was mentioned by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallam, the entire Arab was so allergic to it that they reacted with extreme hostility. Did he stop taking God's name, or started talking roundly of his beauty, which was generally shared by others as well, in a manner of speaking, not entirely? He would never do that. The clear question is, who has been appointed by God to lead this age? If we borrow from him the guidance he received from Allah and benefit from it without naming him, this is not only cowardice, this is lack of trust. If you have failure in your trust, that is why even in human affairs it is considered a crime for anyone to quote passages from somebody's books without mentioning who the author is and which is the book, what the book is from which it's taken. It's extremely a despicable attitude in the name of guiding the people without letting them run away with the name which is attached to the guidance. You just cannot do it. Remove the name of God from the guidance he gives and see what is left. Remove the name of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the guidance he provided, just for the sake of winning the Western people, and see what is left. It's absolutely intolerable, unthinkable.
Yes, sir.
Again, my experience with the Arabs is absolutely different. You know, through MTA, when the Arabs hear me speaking of Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam and what he explained of the Quran, they are enamored by him. They begin to love him. And it is that image of Masih Maud al-Islam which attracts them to Ahmediyya. So all the baths which are taking place universally now through MTA are mainly for this reason, that when they hear from me the commentary of the Holy Quran which has been bestowed upon us by Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam in principle, then they immediately realize that this is not the man which the mullahs had introduced. A man who knows the Quran like this is impossible to be anyone but a godly person. It's impossible for him to be guided by anyone but God himself. So this is the only right way of doing service to the cause of truth and leading people to the Imam appointed by God. Another vital responsibility which lies on our shoulders is to wash his image of the filth, imaginary filth, with which this image has been blemished. You see, when you read so much of the Western propaganda against Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did this and he did that, until a very horrifying image emerges from reading particularly the Western literature of 100 and 200, 300 years ago. The image which emerges of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is far from being lovable, and it is that image which has put the West off. And if you begin with his name, there is blurry interest, as though we are talking of that Muhammad, which is the creation of their own minds. So what is the answer? Do you praise Islam in general and do not mention Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that his image remains the same blemished image in their minds? It's impossible for anyone who loves Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam first not to cleanse those false allegations from his face, to present him in his own true light. Once you do it, then the battle for Islam is already won, because Islam is inseparably related to the image of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if we run about here and there without naming him, that would be disservice to the cause of truth, disservice to Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who owes it from us, who we owe it to him, that we must serve the cause of his truth by removing all the blemishes and false allegations from his character and present him in the light of what he actually was. So much has done by the mullah to blemish the image of Masih Maud al-Islam. If we do not mention it, if we do not touch it, then what we will be doing it, that they will have the same image of Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam, of a man who is a liar, who is an impostor, who is this and who is that, and yet will be attracted towards the thought of Ahmediyya. What would be the purpose served? The thoughts of Ahmediyya, if they are not presented by Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam, they don't mean anything to us, because this shows the relationship between that thought and Masih Maud, shows that it is God who has revealed things to him. It is God who has guided us through him. So why can't we acquire the same attitude vis-a-vis Islam? If this is valid, then that should also be valid. Don't mention Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, don't mention the Quran, and speak of the good things you have learned from the Quran and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not only injustice, it's a crime. It's a theft of other ideas without telling from whom you have borrowed these things. Right?